A billionaire's response, Carl swallowed hard, his fingers tightening around his tattered jacket. I just need $1, he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. Elon Musk studied him for a moment, then reached into his pocket. Carl's heart pounded. Was he really about to hand him money? Instead, Musk pulled out his phone. A smirk played on his lips. Tell me something, Carl. If I give you $1, what will you do with it? Carl hesitated. No one had ever asked him that before. I'd get something to eat, he admitted. Musk nodded but didn't hand him the bill. Instead, he gestured toward the passenger seat. Get in. A ride that changed. Everything Carl's instincts screamed this was insane. Who just invites a homeless man into their car? But something about Musk's steady gaze told him this wasn't a joke. With a deep breath, Carl slid into the Tesla. As the car pulled away from the curb, Musk started asking questions. Not just about Carl's past, but his skills, his ambitions, his dreams. Carl spoke cautiously at first, then more openly. He told Musk about his time at the factory, his knack for fixing machines, his love for problem-solving. Musk listened intently, nodding occasionally. Then, without warning, he asked, "What if I gave you more than $1? What if I gave you a second chance?" Carl blinked. Was this real? The unbelievable offer by the time they reached the Tesla showroom, Carl's head was spinning. Musk parked, turned to him and said, "I can't fix the past, but I can give you an opportunity." Carl sat frozen as Musk made a call. Within minutes, a man in a suit arrived, one of Musk's executives. "Find this man a job," Musk instructed. "Give him a fresh start, and get him whatever he needs to get back on his feet." Tears burned Carl's eyes. He had asked for $1. He left with a job, a place to stay, and a future. $1 that changed everything. Months later, Carl was no longer sleeping on the streets. With a steady job at one of Musk's factories, he had rebuilt his life. One bold question had led him to a second chance, and all it took was asking, what would you have done in Carl's shoes? Would you have had the courage to ask? If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because sometimes the smallest moments can change everything. A decision that changes everything. Musk's fingers brushed against the crisp bills inside his wallet. Carl watched, his breath shallow, expecting the billionaire to pull out a single dollar. But instead, Musk pulled out a $100 bill. Carl's eyes widened. His heart pounded in his chest. "Here," Musk said, extending the bill toward him. Carl hesitated, his fingers trembling as he reached for it. But just before Carl could take it, Musk pulled it back. "On one condition," Musk said, his expression sharp yet calm. "Tell me, if I gave you this, what would you do with it?" Carl swallowed hard, his mind racing. He could eat for days, maybe get a night in a motel, but would that really change anything? I'd get some food," Carl admitted. "Maybe some new clothes." Musk studied him for a long moment, then gave a slight nod. "I'll do you one better," he said, slipping the bill back into his wallet. Then, pointing toward the passenger seat of his Tesla, he added, "Get in." More than just a handout. Carl froze. His instincts screamed this was crazy. Why would a billionaire offer a ride to a homeless man? Where are we going?" Carl asked hesitantly. Musk smirked. "You'll see." Something inside Carl told him to trust this moment. Taking a deep breath, he stepped off the curb and slid into the Tesla. As the car pulled into traffic, Musk started talking. He didn't just ask about Carl's past. He asked about his skills, his passions, what he was good at, what he wanted out of life. Carl hadn't thought about those things in years. "I used to work in manufacturing," Carl finally said. I was good at it too. But once I lost that job, everything just fell apart. Musk nodded. You ever work with machinery? Fix things? Carl frowned. Yeah, all the time. Musk grinned. Good. An offer Carl never saw being 20. Minutes later, the car rolled to a stop in front of a Tesla facility. Carl's stomach twisted. Why are we here? He asked. Musk put the car in park and turned to face him. I don't believe in just handing people money, he said. I believe in giving them opportunities. Carl's breath caught in his throat. Go inside, Musk continued. Tell them Elon sent you. I'll cover your first few weeks of housing, but after that, you earn it. No more asking for $1. Deal? Carl could barely process what was happening. A billionaire had stopped his car, listened to his story, and instead of just giving him money, he gave him a future. Carl wiped at his eyes, overwhelmed. Then, with a steady voice, he nodded. Deal. $1. That changed. A life months later, Carl was no longer on the streets. He had a job, a steady paycheck, and a place to live, all because one day, Carl's heart pounded. The choice Musk gestured toward the Tesla behind him. There's a shelter nearby, he continued. They offer job placement programs, temporary housing. I can cover your stay, but only if you commit. Carl swallowed. This isn't a handout. No, Musk said firmly. It's a chance, but you have to take it. The words settled deep in Carl's chest. For years, he had been surviving on the kindness of strangers, spare change, leftover food. This was different. This was a way out. Carl looked down at the $100 bill. He could take it and get through another couple of days, or he could take the offer and change his entire future. His hands trembled as he looked back up at Musk. I'll take the opportunity, Carl said. His voice was steady this time. Musk grinned. Good, he said. Now let's get to work. The road to redemption. That night, Carl stepped into a shelter, not as a man begging for another day of survival, but as someone fighting for a future. Musk kept his word. Carl's stay was covered, and with the help of the shelter's job placement program, he found work in a Tesla factory within weeks. The first paycheck he held in his hands felt heavier than any bill Musk had ever given him. Because it wasn't just money, it was a second chance. Months later, Carl was no longer on the streets. He had a job, a home, and a new sense of purpose. And it all started with one question. What would you have done in Carl's shoes? Would you have taken the money or the opportunity? Let us know in the comments. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes the smallest moments can change everything. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Carl's palms were sweaty as he clutched the receiver, half expecting no one to pick up. Maybe this was all a joke. Maybe Musk had just been messing with him. Then, click, a smooth professional voice came through the line. This is Tesla Operations. How can I help you? Carl's breath caught in his throat. Tesla? This was real. Hi. My name is Carl, he stammered. Elon Musk gave me this number. He said you'd, know what to do. A brief silence. Carl braced himself for laughter, for someone to tell him this was all a mistake. But then, the voice on the other end spoke again. Yes, Mr. Musk informed us. Can you come to this address today? Carl's heart pounded as the receptionist rattled off an address in downtown Austin. It wasn't far, but it felt like a world away from the gas station where he stood. Yes, he said quickly. I can be there. Good, the voice replied. We'll see you soon. The line went dead. Carl stood frozen, the dial tone humming in his ear. This was happening. He had one chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. A new beginning, Carl arrived at the Tesla office wearing the cleanest clothes he owned. They were still rough, still worn, but for the first time in a long time, he walked with purpose. When he stepped inside, he expected judgmental stares. Instead, he was greeted by a man in a neatly pressed suit. "You're Carl?" "Yes, sir." The man smiled. "Follow me." They led Carl through the building, past state-of-the-art technology and bustling workers. He felt out of place, but no one treated him that way. Finally, he was introduced to a hiring manager. "We're starting you with a training program," the manager explained. "No handouts, just an opportunity. You work hard, you move up. Sound fair?" Carl nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "More than fair." And just like that, his life began to change. 6 months later, Carl stood inside a Tesla factory, no longer homeless, no longer invisible. He had a job, a paycheck, a small apartment of his own. But more than that, he had something he thought he'd lost forever: hope. One day, as he finished his shift, his phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. "Heard you took the opportunity. Proud of you. Keep going. Elon." Carl stared at the message, his vision blurring. He took a deep breath. Then he smiled. Because for the first time in years, he knew his future was in his hands. What would you have done in Carl's shoes? Comment below and let us know. And if this story inspired you, like, share, and subscribe to hear more real-life stories that prove opportunity is what you make of it, and given a tour of the facility. The scale of the operation was overwhelming. Rows of robotic arms assembling, sleek Tesla vehicles, conveyor belts humming with precision, workers moving with purpose. Carl had never imagined himself in a place like this. Just days ago, he was begging for a single dollar. Now, he had a uniform, a name badge, and a chance. His supervisor, a no-nonsense man named Greg, handed him a pair of gloves. "Welcome to the team," Greg said, clapping Carl on the back. "You work hard, you move up. Simple as that." Carl nodded, swallowing back the lump in his throat. This was real. A new path. The first weeks were tough. The hours were long, the work physically demanding. But Carl didn't complain. He showed up early. He stayed late. He listened, learned, and pushed himself harder than he ever had. Slowly, things started changing. His first paycheck allowed him to buy a few clean clothes. His second paycheck got him a cheap motel room. His first bed in months. By his third paycheck, he had saved enough for a small apartment. Every time he walked past a mirror, he hardly recognized the man staring back. One evening, after a long shift, his phone buzzed. A number he didn't recognize. He hesitated before answering. "Hello?" Carl. He knew the voice instantly. Elon Musk. Carl's breath caught in his throat. Yes, sir?" Musk's tone was casual. "I heard you've been working hard." Carl exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I'm trying." "That's all I needed to hear," Musk said. Then, after a pause, "Keep going." The call ended as quickly as it began, but Carl stood there for a long time, phone still in hand. He had never felt prouder in his life. 1 year later, Carl didn't just survive, he thrived. He worked his way up, earning the respect of his coworkers and supervisors. He no longer worried about his next meal. He had a steady job, a stable home, and most importantly, a future. One day, as he walked through the factory, he overheard a conversation between two new hires. One of them was complaining about the job, saying it was too hard. Carl couldn't help but smile. He walked over, clapping the young man on the shoulder. "Hard work's the only way up," he said. "Trust me, I know." The kid looked confused, but Carl just chuckled and walked away. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't at the bottom anymore, and he never would be again. What would you do if given a second chance? Drop a comment below. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience and hope. With training, jobs, and most importantly, hope, Carl traveled across the country, speaking at shelters, factories, and community centers. He met people who reminded him of his past self, lost, struggling, searching for a way forward, and every time he told them the same thing. I was you, and if I can climb out, so can you. A full circle moment. One day, as Carl stood in a conference hall preparing to speak at a national event, his phone rang. It was Elon Musk. "Big day," Musk said. Carl chuckled. "Yeah, hard to believe." There was a pause before Musk spoke again, his voice softer than usual. "I'm proud of you, Carl." Carl felt his throat tighten. Years ago, he had been a man begging for $1. Now, he was a man changing lives. "Thank you," Carl said. "For everything." Musk only chuckled. "Just keep going." And Carl did. Because second chances weren't just given. They were built. One step, one person, and one spark at a time. Would you take the chance if it was given to you? Drop a comment below, and if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and follow for more stories of resilience and redemption. Those who had been overlooked and discarded by society were now given resources, training, and jobs that allowed them to rebuild their lives. Carl traveled across the country, meeting people who reminded him of his former self, sharing his story and proving that hope wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was a lifeline. He never forgot the moment that had started it all. A simple question to a man in a sleek electric car. That question had unlocked a chain of events he never could have predicted. But this story wasn't just about him. It was about the people he had helped, the lives he had touched, and the idea that even in the darkest moments, there was potential for light. One day, during an event celebrating the program's 5th anniversary, Carl stood on stage addressing a crowd of graduates. They were people from every background: former inmates, single mothers, veterans, and countless others who had been given a second chance. As Carl spoke, his voice was steady but filled with emotion. 5 years ago, I asked a man for $1. He began, his words deliberate. But what he gave me wasn't money. It was an opportunity. And with that opportunity, I realized something. No matter how far down you've fallen, no matter how invisible you feel, there's always a way back. You just need someone to believe in you. The crowd erupted into applause. But Carl wasn't done. What I've learned is that kindness, when paired with action, can change everything. We all have the power to lift someone up. It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes it's as simple as asking a question or giving someone a chance. As he stepped down from the stage, Carl caught sight of Musk in the audience, his trademark grin spreading across his face. Musk approached, shaking Carl's hand firmly. "You did good, Carl," Musk said, his voice filled with pride. Carl smiled back, his eyes glistening. "We did good." As the event wrapped up, Carl stood quietly, taking it all in. The journey from a homeless man with nothing to his name to a leader of a movement had been unimaginable. But it was a reminder that life's biggest transformations often start with the smallest moments. Carl's story became a testament to the power of resilience, kindness, and opportunity. It was proof that one act of courage, asking for help, could create a ripple of change that touched countless lives. If this story moved you, remember, we all have the ability to make a difference. No matter how small the gesture, it matters. Share this story, reach out to someone in need, or take a step toward your own second chance, and don't forget to subscribe.